Did you know that we have microbes that are living in our guts? Yeah, that seems pretty weird and even a little gross. But scientists think that there are even trillions of microbes that are living inside of us. These microbes are often what make us sick, but there's also really good microbes that we need because they help digest our food, and they usually are found in our large intestine. Microbes are microscopic organisms that are so small it's really hard to almost impossible to be able to see them with our naked eye. And we often have to use a microscope to be able to see them. There are many different types of microbes. There's bacteria and the viruses like I mentioned, but there's also fungi, protists, even some microscopic animals and plants. But today we're mainly going to focus on bacteria. Bacteria not only live in our guts, but they also live in the world around us. And we can study them by how they interact with their environment and with each other in what is called a microbiome. And we're going to create a microbiome today called a Winogradsky column. In the 1880s, there was a Russian microbiologist by the name of Sergei Winogradsky. And he wanted to study microbes in their environment and how they interact with one another, and also how they cycle nutrients within a column. So he created a column called the Winogradsky column. So today we are going to create our own column, and you're going to need some household items that you can find just really anywhere. You're going to need a bowl, you're going to need some shredded pieces of paper, an egg, a rubber band, a spoon, I've got some plastic wrap, and then I've also got some well water or tap water, but you want to make sure that if you use tap water that it's dechlorinated. If not, then you will kill your microbes in your experiment. And the most important thing is that you need a clear container. Now all you need to do is pick where you want to get your sediment or mud source from. So I've chosen to get my mud source from our pond here on our farm. And we're going to use that as our Winogradsky column. I also have some pond water. It is very important that you get your mud source and your water source from the same place, because that's where your microbes in your mud are going to thrive. So first we're going to put on some gloves. And this really is just to keep your hands clean, but it's also a good safety practice. These microbes are non-pathogenic, so they're not harmful to you, but this is just good safety practice. So first what you want to do, take your bowl and get a small sample of your mud. Now you want to add in your paper. Your paper is going to serve as a source of cellulose and carbon for the microbes that are living in your mud. Next, you want to add in an egg. The egg is going to serve as a source of calcium. You can add the egg, and you can even add the eggshells if you prefer. Now what you want to do is you want to really stir this in really well. This is going to serve as the foundation for your Winogradsky column. Now just pour that right into your column. Now you need some more mud because you want to fill up this column 3/4 of the way full with the mud. That way you have a really good sample of microbes. So go back in and get some mud. Fill it into your column. Okay, that should be good. Now you want to take your pond water, and you want to fill it up, but leave about an inch at the top for air. That way the oxygen can have a room to circulate and the gas can have a little bit of space to go somewhere. Alright, now you want to seal your Winogradsky column. And I have some plastic wrap. For your column you can also use a 2-liter Coke bottle, or you can use a pickle jar. Those are really good sources. So put that on there, take your rubber band, and make sure that you seal it off really well. We don't want any of these gases escaping. And there you have it, your Winogradsky column. Now what you want to do is you want to take your Winogradsky column and you want to put it in a very well lit area. I suggest putting it in a window where maybe there's a lot of natural sunlight coming in. If you don't have that availability, the next best thing is to use a lamp. And make sure that the column has some way to have light, because this is the primary source for your microbes. These microbes are photosynthetic, and that means they use light to create their sugars and their nutrients and to be able to cycle the nutrients within their column. Now, this experiment isn't over. This is going to take about 6 to 8 weeks to really observe. I can't tell you a lot about what microbes are living in this column now because they haven't had time to really grow. So you're going to want to observe your Winogradsky column for 6 to 8 weeks. And I really suggest taking pictures of your column at least the same day, same time, every week. That way you can look back and you can see the progression of your Winogradsky column and how your microbes begin to separate out into layers. As they begin to separate out into layers, you're going to notice that there are going to be 2 zones in your column. From the top to the middle of your column is going to be what's termed the aerobic zone. And this means that the microbes really need a source of oxygen to be able to thrive and cycle their nutrients. The second zone is going to be about middle to the bottom of your column, and that's going to be called the anaerobic zone. And you're going to find that most of the bacteria that begin to grow there in your column don't need oxygen at all. This is a picture of one of the Winogradsky columns that my teacher made. And she actually made hers 10 years ago. And it's been sitting here growing for a long time. And as you can see, there's a lot of green and even some black in her Winogradsky column. And those bacteria have been thriving there. You can let this experiment go for as long as you want to, and maybe even change up the light source, or maybe even add in some more nutrient source like the egg or even some crumbled leaves or more paper to really provide more nutrients for your column. But there are going to be 4 common bacteria that you are going to find in your Winogradsky column. And I chose to do the pond because there are a lot of nutrients such as phosphorus, sulfur, carbon, oxygen, and even hydrogen that is common to what's going to be found in this Winogradsky column. So the first common bacteria you're going to find is probably cyanobacteria. This is a green bacteria. This is the one that you saw the most in my teacher's example. You're going to find this at the top of your column, and they're going to be in the aerobic zone because they don't necessarily need, or they need, a lot of oxygen to thrive. These bacteria are photosynthetic. They use light, carbon, and hydrogen, and they're the most common that you're probably going to find in your column. The second most common is sulfur bacteria. These bacteria are often kind of purplish and green in color. They're also photosynthetic, and you're probably going to find them around the top or the mid of your column. But these are anaerobic, so they don't really rely on oxygen as much. And they live in sulfide-rich sediment, just like that's in the pond. The second one is non-sulfur bacteria. These are a purplish, orange, maybe even red and brown bacteria that are also photosynthetic. That's why your light source is so important, because their energy is going to come from light and carbon. They're going to be found in the very middle of your column, and they are going to be more in the anaerobic zone. The fourth one is the sulfate reducing. This one's going to be found at the very bottom of your column in the anaerobic zone because it doesn't need a lot of oxygen, and it's going to be really dark and black in color. This is a fun bacteria though, because this is the one that's actually going to eat that egg that you put in there and give off a rotten egg smell. So when you are releasing some of the gas pressure off of this, that's something you're going to want to do. I would recommend taking it outside, because if not, you're really going to smell up your home. It's hard to believe that these microbes are actually living in plain sight, much like the microbiome that's living inside of us. It's really fun to investigate this unseen world, and I hope you enjoy creating your own Winogradsky column. I look forward to hearing about all the different microbes that you see from your Winogradsky column.